Hello and welcome to today's video where we're going to cover the three series that already took place at MSI 2024 in the main event and then preview the final one. If you haven't followed along, I did only put preview videos out that were pre-recorded over the last couple days, and now we are going over this with the stats that I've been following throughout. Some things I'm just keeping track of that you're not going to find elsewhere. So first we have Team Liquid Top Esports going into this series. Team Liquid coming in cold, haven't played in a while, and frankly, in my opinion, we're worse than FlyQuest. And then Top Esports, a team that I believe is one of the best ones at the tournament. And I mean, I say it all the time. I did predict them to win this year at World, so I will say that I guess I have a little bit of a vested interest, even if that is a fool's errand of too early Worlds predictions or whatever. But regardless, Top Esports dominated them. A lot of people think that Team Liquid had a chance, that Umpty would have a chance into TN or Impact into 369. LCS fans overrating their team, their champion, if you will. So, game one, Top Esports are ahead in all four areas at the end of laning phase at about 15 minutes. Biggest lead coming in bot lane, 1.6k gold, 24 CS. That would actually be the lowest gold difference in the bot duo in this series. So 1.6 being the lowest, I think that really goes to show you just how dominant Jackie Love and Mako were over Yeon and Core JJ. Cream, a 22 CS lead in mid lane in game one. They did ban Aurelion Sol and Ziggs and then didn't for the rest of the series, allowing Rumble to be up and things like that. And Top Esports still were not thrown off, allowing those picks to be chosen by Team Liquid, which I thought was a little reckless, but regardless. So game one, Top Esports, I mean, they took all the objectives, all 6 Grubs, the Rift Herald, 4 Drakes. Had a Baron that gave them about 3,600 gold. If you take away the 1525 you get off the rip. Game 2, TL had a little bit going on. So in game 1, TL did accomplish 5 plays in Top Esports accomplished 4 in the first 15 minutes based on my my opinion. Now in game 2, Top Esports were ahead in making plays 5-3. Clearly the top side of the rift being the emphasis for both teams. 5 of the 8 plays occurring there. But in the end, Top Esports have a lead in all 4 areas once again at around 14 to 15 minutes. 1.5k gold lead for 369, 36 CS difference. TN ahead 1.1k, and then Jackie Love Mako ahead 2.7. Now, APA had a 6 CS lead in mid lane, but didn't have a gold lead. So that's a slight thing, I guess. But even then, that kind of goes to show you that Top Esports were executing better on getting objectives and turrets and the like. Grubs were split 3-3. Top Esports still took 3 Drakes to 1, so they have an advantage there. Clearly still emphasis on objectives. And then also had a 5,100 power play. Game 3, very slow. So neither team getting much going in terms of plays. And at 15 minutes, it was closer than the other 2 games. So Impact had a 400 gold lead, 2 CS. However, I mean, I guess it was closer because there was a lane at least where Team Liquid had an advantage. Jackie Love Mako had 2k gold, 42 CS. 1k gold lead for Cream into APA. So, I mean, this is just not... It was struggle street. So one of the very few games we've seen so far at this event where not all Grubs were taken, only half of them were. TL actually got the Rift Herald, but Top Esports took all 4 Drakes. So in the end, in this one, they took 11 Drakes to 1, 11 Grubs to 4, and 2 Heralds to 1. They pulled off 10 plays, where Team Liquid pulled off 9, so the aggressiveness was pretty equal, but when you factor in the fact that Top Esports had all these gold leads, they also found time to farm. Especially in the case of TN. Objectives, on average, Top Esports had a 4,500 power play. Team Liquid didn't have any. Cream went 14-1 and 15, 30% of damage. Mako 5-1, 37, had the best KDA. And APA went 7-10 and 4, 29% of damage in the loss. We'll see how Team Liquid do now that they're going to play Fnatic. Actually, technically, uh, midnight my time, Saturday night, Friday night, Saturday morning. So that'll be a series I'm going to have to watch later on Saturday. After that, we have Fnatic Gen.G. Gen.G, the team coming in rusty and cold, and Fnatic coming in playing decent League of Legends. Very aggressive League of Legends, but decent nonetheless. It was getting the job done. Now, against Gen.G, they kind of held back, in my opinion, early on in this series and then let loose in Game 3, and we saw it much closer as a result. Game 1, at 14 minutes, Gen.G had a significant lead in the solo lanes, over 1k gold in both, 1.4 for Keen, 1.1 for Chovy, 25 excuse me, 25 and 36 CS leads, respectively. Fnatic did have a CS lead in jungle and bot duo, but actually no gold to really speak of to make a difference. So you can have a CS lead all you want, but in the end, gold is actually more important, in my opinion. Now we can draw from that, though, that Fnatic, although having an 11 CS lead in the bot lane duo, Gen.G finding a way to get gold. Otherwise, we saw Pace and Lehens very dominant at times. Gen.G took all 6 grubs. Canyon getting prio on that, taking Rift Herald, splitting Drakes between these two teams, and had a 5,600 power play. So as the game went along, Gen.G were able to win the key team fights that needed to be done in the mid to late game, which I say all the time, if you play passively and do an elite Eastern team as a Western squad, you're going to struggle. You're going to lose that team fight more often than not. The hands diff's going to be a thing. And that's what really transpired in this Gen.G Fnatic series. It really came down to when the game got close and it wasn't as chaotic and it was more calculated by the Western team. The Eastern team reads you like a book, and they win those team fights. They know how to approach those team fights. They've approached those team fights the same way against much better players than what you have. So it's one of those things where I really do advocate for some serious chaos. Maybe you take those 40-60 fights. Maybe you take those 30-70 fights that many people would say, that's a terrible angle. That's a terrible decision. And it's like, yeah, it's not the best decision, but at the same time, does this 30-70 fight become 40-60 because they don't expect it? No, it's hard to really calculate that. But at the same time, if you go slow and steady wins the race, I don't think you're beating Gen.G. I don't think you're beating T1 or top esports or BLG at this series in this tournament. I really do doubt it. Game 2, Oscar did have a slight lead into Keen, 400 gold, 7 CS. But once again, the bot duo of Gen.G, dominant, up 1.3k gold. Canyon had 800 over Razork. We saw in this series that in all 3 games, Gen.G's bot lane did have a significant gold advantage. So, like I said, Pays and Lehens did definitely get the better of Noah in June. June did have some nice plays on the Ashe specifically. I think he had multiple arrows from downtown to set up plays from across the rift, and you do have to give him credit for that. And at the same time, I do think Fnatic did benefit from Gen.G coming into this series, playing it kind of weird. I think we saw a Draven Nami bot lane in Game 3 and a 1.1k gold lead nonetheless. So that's definitely something. So Game 2, a lot closer. Back and forth. Sloppy. Technically, all 3 Barons, if you take out 15, 25 gold, were negative. 2 by Gen.G, 1 by Fnatic, and then Gen.G finally won a team fight and they ended off of it. Terrible power play management, terrible siege management, losing team fights with the Baron, therefore losing Drake or objectives. And it was an ugly game where it was like, okay, Fnatic came in kind of slow, and Gen.G were fine with that. And then Game 2, it got a little more ramped up, and it became more chaotic, and it gave both teams a chance, but at the same time, it was messy. You'd like Fnatic to maybe execute on that Baron better than dropping 1,500 gold as a result. Technically, that Baron was plus 23 power play. Like, it was essentially useless. They lost a big team fight. And, some people question how Noah died in that situation at the end as the final person with the Baron. But frankly, the game that, we're really picking and choosing there on, who to blame or why are we doing that. Like, I mean, shit, that fight, that's over. That's done. by that point. We're just kind of moving on. So, yeah, 17-minute early game as well. You know, once again, 3-3 in plays. I mean, game one, it was 4-2 in favor of Gen.G. So Canyon and Razork kind of going even. They were splitting. Grub's 3-3, Drake's 3-3. So a very long game. If that wasn't indicative by 3 freaking Barons in a 17-minute laning phase. Game three, a quicker pace. So 14-15 laning phase ends. Fnatic attempted 4 plays, 3 on the bot side. Gen.G attempted 5. So in this series, it was 9 in favor of Fnatic, 12 in favor of Gen.G. Fnatic did take the Rift Herald, but 5 grubs did go to Gen.G. Gen.G took 3 Drakes to 1. They had about 3,800 power play. In terms of diffies, Razork did have a 400 gold and 17 CS lead over Canyon, but Canyon had 5 grubs. He had 3 Drakes by the end of the game, so playing more of a facilitator role, kind of helping the team secure objectives. Kind of interesting. So LeBlanc in this one for Humanoid resulted in 1k gold lead in the mid game. So a lot of gold going on to Humanoid and a lot of gold going on Pays and Lehens in the bot lane. It ended up being a duel of the bot duo of Gen.G versus Humanoid. Very reminiscent of how we saw Fnatic play into top esports when Humanoid got LeBlanc. LeBlanc is one of the better champions we've seen anybody play at this tournament in multiple games. I'm sure we could say, oh yeah, well, this player played really well on this champion, this and that. It's like, but every time we see Humanoid on LeBlanc, it is a serious problem. And we're not seeing many other players be as nasty on the champion. So it's definitely something to make note of. And it kind of shows how many kills he had, because he had a 1k gold lead, even though Chovy had a 37 CS lead. The dichotomy of what, CS really doesn't mean much if the gold is completely the other direction. And it happened in the bot duo, so Gen.G 1.1k gold lead, but a 23 CS lead for Noah June. In terms of totals for this one, like I said, Gen.G had the advantage in plays. They took 14 grubs to 4, 8 Drakes to 6. On average, they had a 2,000 gold power play across 4. It doesn't help that 2 of them were negative. And then in the case of Fnatic, they only had 1 power play, and it was negative 1,500 if you take out 1,525. So very poor power play management, very poor siege management and macro in this situation. I say it, I've kind of alluded to it already, but if you play early as well, you play early game, you play aggressive, you get ahead, you need to play out the game. You need to play out the steps and impose your will, if you can, through the rest of the game. So when you have an opportunity, you have to execute on it, and it didn't happen. So Chovy, best damage percentage, so 22, 5, 20, 35% of Gen.G's damage. 19, 6, 19 for Pays. Noah, 11, 10, 12, 31% of damage in the loss. Noah's Lucian was a problem in this series. Once again, he does play a very, very good Lucian. Very aggressive, and that's good to see. Now, of course, the series we're all thinking about because it happened this morning. PSG BLG went to 5 games. I am so happy for Maple and Betty. I don't think I can really put it into more words than wow. It was really great to see Maple and Betty have an opportunity to be this competitive on the international stage once again, to see PSG Talon, a team that has been, even, you think back to the Flash Wolves roster that turned into Talon Esports and the like. These guys are world-class players, and I say this all the time about the world-class and this or that, but these guys showcased it once more today. Why you need to respect these players. And frankly, it's more embarrassing for BLG than it was for Fly, in that BLG just saw PSG play and beat FlyQuest because FlyQuest didn't respect them. BLG's players have played these players in the LPL many times. If you saw my preview video yesterday, technically, Betty had a win rate. I mean, Betty had beaten Elk more than Elk could beat Betty. And Maple Knight had played against each other 9 times. Knight did have the advantage. But the fact of the matter is, you've played against these players. The disrespect is one thing. They were rusty. That is another thing. But if there is one org, minor region org, that you can say they are a tough out at every international event. You do have to respect them. It's PSG. And yeah, they didn't get out of play-ins last year at Worlds. But, Wako really left a lot to be desired. And of course, that's easy to blame him because he's the one change. But, it is pretty clear Betty is a major region level AD carry. So, I mean, that is neither here nor there. It's pretty self explanatory. So game one, BLG had a lead in all four roles at the end of laning phase at 14:30. Over a 1K gold lead everywhere but mid lane. Maple keeping Knight kind of under control. But Bin ahead of Aja. And Chun had 1.1K gold. Gen.G did, however, have a 10 CS lead, but that, he wasn't able to turn that into much. Plays, PSG went bot side 3 times. That did not really get them much. 1.6K gold lead for Alcon was the difference when it was all said and done. Obviously, with lane swaps, it's hard to really say bot lane is only theirs. But when you compare the bot duos, it was 1.6K difference. BLG did make 3 plays themselves. Grubs were split 3-3. However, BLG got all the Drakes. So 3-0 in Drakes. And did get the 1 Baron up 3180. Game 2. So BLG, this is the game BLG disrespected PSG. They had a big lead, massive lead, really. At the end of laning phase at 15:30, 3.7K gold lead for Alcon over Betty Woody. 3.7K. You can't throw that series that game away. This is an international event, and Elk got a little, disrespectful positioning wise. Bin throughout this series very disrespectful. Actually, something to add: Gen.G were disrespectful to Fnatic in this game too, as well. Keen in particular, getting picked off a lot, and Canyon as well throughout this series had some int moments, but. Game 2 of this one, BLG just threw it away. PSG won the team fights they needed to win around the key objectives, despite not getting, the grubs in the early game. They were able to secure 2 Drakes and match Drakes and take a couple Barons. 61-81 total in gold. They were effective. They got something out of them and won the game. It wasn't a blowout, but PSG, they disrespected them. They disrespected them, and PSG came out ahead. Maple showed up. Gen.G showed up. Aja. Whatever. I know it's not Ozzy anymore. It's not Aji, but Ija. Very, very good series out of him as well. Sante Urgot really sticking out as 2 champions he was excellent on. To add to the fact they played a really nasty rumble into Buipo to begin with, to end the play-in stage. Now the back and forth started going on though. So game 3, BLG responded. They would win this game, slowing things down. PSG attempted 4 plays. BLG only went mid lane once. In terms of diffies, not that much going on except the bot duo of Betty Woody actually had 1K gold at the end of laning phase over BLG's bot duo. So a lot of people like Elk, and rightfully so. He's a very good player. And you just find instances where folks will really talk up a player and then get really quiet when the player does poorly. And it's not equal, and then that's fine. Fandom is fine, but to claim no bias and then make arguments and things like that for the player without, saying, "Oh, I'm not biased at all," I think that's foolish. So, Betty Woody ahead, 1K gold at 15:30. BLG did take all 6 grubs and the Rift Herald, so taking that the topside prio, because they did go mid once. They did give them a little bit of priority. But more importantly, PSG getting 3 attempts down at bot lane really kind of put BLG behind at that time. Now, BLG would respond with 3 Drakes to 1, so they did get objectives. And then they also got the Baron that they needed at 42-81. So solid Baron power play in game 3. Game 4, very quick laning phase. So laning phase ended in under 10 minutes. At 9:45, the biggest difference was actually in the jungle. So a 700 gold and 29 CS lead for Gen.G over Shun. Shun struggled in Game 4, and it was pretty evident. Gen.G got the better of him. Knight had an 11 CS lead, but, you know, it wasn't enough. PSG made 2 plays, BLG only 1. The laning phase very slow, and I mean, it was only 10 minutes, right? So it's kind of like, hey, we're focusing on taking down these objectives, creating some pressure, but at the same time not getting a lot out of it in terms of kills. All 6 grubs and the Rift Herald went to PSG, which really did help them kind of win this one. Being able to take down objectives quickly with the Void Might and Rift Herald. 3 Drakes to 1, had about 2,000 gold power play, so executed on that, did their job. Something that Fnatic probably should take note of. Make sure you utilize your objectives better. And then Game 5. So I don't want to say like BLG kind of woke up, because I feel like that doesn't give PSG credit. I feel like that wouldn't give PSG credit. BLG got Kindred and Nico. Shun's Kindred is very, very good. The jungle matchup in this one is the closest one between Shun and Gen.G. Now, we did see Betty make some really great plays and did honestly pretty damn well. Given the, Elk kind of into his face off at times, made some mistakes. And that's going to happen, not playing stage games in quite a while. But at the same time, that matchup wasn't going as heavily BLG's favor, so they kind of put the ball in Shun's court in Game 5 with the Kindred, and he was great. He was great. He executed. Went top lane, got Aja behind, and Bin ahead, which is even more important. I mean, hell, you get Bin ahead, you're really in a nice spot. But Knight's Nico into Maple's Azir. Frankly, I'd rather give the Azir to Knight. It wasn't that great in this series. It wasn't that great. And once again, we'll see if he continues to pick it or if he's kind of scared off from it for the rest of the tournament. If I'm a team going against them in the next round, I think it'd be T1 or T1 or G2, depending on who wins it, I'd leave Azir up. I certainly would. After that performance, certainly. So that's the thing. But at 11:30, this game was over. I mean, frankly, it was they crushed them in Game 5. PSG ran out of gas. BLG dominated them every way. All areas, they're up 1k gold or more, 1.7 in top, 1.5 in the bot duo. In terms of plays, PSG attempted 1 in mid. BLG attempted 3 in top. They took all the grubs. They took the Rift Herald, or the Rift Herald might have expired. One of these games it expired, and I don't remember which one it was. 3 Drakes to none. I mean, they took the only Baron. They did kind of hesitate, though. They could have went the extra mile and didn't. They recalled to end this game in 25 minutes instead of 22, and it does make you wonder, if they thought to themselves, we should probably respect them a bit and not throw this at the Nexus, which is showing some growth already, and maybe, they did work out that disrespect that they had prior in the series. So, in terms of plays, 13 for PSG and 12 for BLG. Heavy bot side presence for PSG. They went bot side 8 times in this series. Grubs, 21-9 in favor of BLG. I have them taking 3 Rift Heralds to 1. It might be 2-2. It's kind of figuring out which game there was no Rift Herald taken. In terms of Drakes, close, 12-7 in favor of BLG. Now, objectives. PSG averaged about 27-24 on their 3 Barons, and PSG averaged 27-24 on their Barons. BLG 35-79, so more effective. Elk led the way in damage with 29%, going 22-15 and 29 in KDA. And the best KDA was Shun, 16-9-43. Betty, 15-14-25, 31% of damage in the loss. I I can't emphasize it enough how I started talking about this series. I am very happy for how PSG performed, reminding everybody just how good the PCS could be if given an opportunity. Personally, I do believe that they should have been given a second seed to this tournament because they did take on Japan and Oceania, but Oceania probably deserved to lose it just as much as Turkey did. So when those two regions lost their slot, I mean, Japan should have kept theirs, though. DFM for years has always been competitive. So, would have, actually, it's ironic because the team that would have went to MSI as the second PCS squad would have been the SoftBank Hawks that are from Japan. So it would have actually still had a Japanese team, and maybe that's part of the reason why we are even seeing all this commotion for wanting another PCS team here. It's just the issue of format. This format sucks, in my opinion. I hate this format. I much preferred Rumble Stage. I think that Rumble Stage wasn't, other parts around Rumble Stage not perfect, but Rumble Stage in and of itself was a good thing. So, that's the thing. And with this format, it's hard to add it. Well, you can't add an extra seed. You'd have to take one away, and people say, yeah, we'll take away NAs. I think that's foolish. Would we take away a European seed because their team didn't get to quarterfinals at Worlds and LCS did? I mean, you'd say, oh, well, BDS beat Golden Guardians. They made it to the main event. It's like, we're just fix the damn format in a way that actually, makes sense instead of having this atrocity format that it's not as bad as what LPL is going to do in summer. That is the worst thing I've ever seen in LOL Esports. But regardless, preview for tomorrow, G2 T1. Last time they played was MSI 2022. And T1 would sweep G2 3-0. Zeus was the best player in that one, going 12, 3, and 13, 29% of damage. 7 of the 10 starters are the same from that one. G2, only 2 of the same solo lanes, Broken Blade Caps. Yankos now with Heretics, and Flacked with Heretics, and Targamas with Carmine Corp. So, that's a thing. All time, these guys are 2-2 in best of 5s at international events. 3 of them occurring at MSI. T1 are 2-1 there, and G2 won the only one at Worlds. I believe that was Worlds 2019. Now, 15-10 though, total record in favor of T1. So including best of 1s, T1 have the advantage 15-10 in total games played. So only a 60% win rate in 25 games. So with all things equal, this series should be close. I do think we need to factor in the rust factor that G2 probably are going to have, because if you think about it, TL had it, Fnatic had it. TL, Gen.G, BLG had it. Then Top Esports had it against Loud. We saw that, and we saw T1 struggle with Astral for a bit. I mean, the very, very good teams it's just rust. It is what it is. You got to knock it off. You got to get used to the stage, get used to the seat. This isn't the normal chair you sit on. This isn't the normal crowd you deal with. This isn't the normal, air conditioning, heating, the whole 9 yards. Like, it's not the same. These players have to get used to it. And it's a thing. So, we'll see how that goes for G2 tomorrow. Thank you for watching. If you like the video, like it, subscribe to the channel for daily League of Legends content. Follow me on Twitter, join the Discord, become a YouTube supporter, and I hope to see you again tomorrow.